Amara Winters stepped onto the gleaming marble floors of the Crescent Bay Resort, her simple beige dress standing in stark contrast to the sparkling chandeliers and lavish surroundings. She tucked a strand of her brown hair behind her ear, observing other guests in their designer outfits and glittering jewelry. After driving 30 minutes from a local boutique where she'd been reviewing donations for her foundation's auction, Amara had come directly to the resort to check on preparations for that evening's charity gala. She preferred handling these details personally, just as she had years ago when she ran charity events from her grandmother's basement. "I'm here to check on the arrangements for tonight," she told the receptionist, whose welcoming smile faltered upon taking in Amara's modest appearance. "Do you work for one of our guests?" the young woman asked, lowering her voice. Amara smiled gently. "No, I'm attending the charity gala this evening, the Winters Foundation reservation." The receptionist's fingers clacked against the keyboard, her brow furrowing. "I don't see your name here. Are you staff for the foundation?" "I'm actually the founder," Amara replied calmly. "My husband Thaddeus should have called ahead. He's arriving by yacht later." A man in an impeccable suit approached, having overheard the conversation. His tight smile didn't reach his eyes. "I'm Dominic Reeves, the general manager. Is there a problem here?" His gold name tag gleamed as he leaned forward. The receptionist whispered something that made Dominic's eyebrows rise as he assessed Amara from head to toe. "Ma'am, this is a private resort. The Winters Foundation Gala is a prestigious event. Perhaps there's been some confusion?" Amara maintained her composure. "There's no confusion. I'm Amara Winters. My husband and I—" Dominic's laugh cut her off. "Excuse me, Mrs. Winters is a prominent philanthropist married to Thaddeus Winters. She wouldn't be arriving unaccompanied and dressed." His gesture indicated her simple attire. "I have ID," Amara began, reaching for her purse. Dominic waved, his hand dismissively. "Please, anyone can print a fake ID these days." Two security guards materialized at Dominic's silent signal. Nearby guests began to stare, some whispering behind manicured hands. "Please don't make this difficult," Dominic continued. "We can't have just anyone walking in claiming to be important guests." Amara noticed a woman in a white blazer discreetly recording the scene on her phone. "Perfect." Word would spread quickly. "I understand," Amara said, her voice steady. "May I at least use your restroom before I leave?" Dominic hesitated, then nodded curtly. "Make it quick." As Amara walked toward the ladies' room, she heard him instruct the security guards, "Make sure she actually leaves. These gold digger types are persistent." Inside the elegant marble bathroom, Amara locked herself in a stall and pulled out her phone. No one else was around. She typed a brief message to Freya Lindholm, her executive assistant. "Code Moonlight at Crescent Bay Resort, 2 hours. The response came seconds later. "Understood. Initiating protocol." Amara smiled, slipping the phone back into her purse. She and Thaddeus had developed this system after the third time she'd been dismissed because of her unassuming appearance. Rather than fight these battles with her name or wealth, Amara preferred to let these situations play out naturally. The why. Lessons learned tended to stick better that way. Exiting the bathroom, she found the two security guards waiting, arms crossed. "Miss whatever your name actually is," the taller one said. "Mr. Reeves has asked us to escort you off the property. Immediately." "Of course," Amara replied calmly. As they walked through the grand lobby, Dominic stepped out from behind the front desk to watch her departure, his eyes gleaming with satisfaction. Guests turned to stare at the spectacle, a simple woman in a beige dress being marched out by security. "Perhaps next time you'll make a reservation under your own name," Dominic called after her, loud enough for everyone to hear. "We only host the Winters Gala because Mr. Winters is a valued patron. His wife is known for her exquisite taste, something clearly not everyone possesses." Several guests laughed sycophantically. Amara didn't react, keeping her head high as they approached the ornate front doors. "I'll be sure to pass along your hospitality to my husband," she said softly. Dominic chuckled. "Yes, I'm sure he'll be quite impressed with your imagination, though I doubt he exists, much like your supposed connection to the Winters." They reached the entrance, and one of the guards gestured toward the taxi line. Need us to call you a cab? He asked, his tone suggesting she couldn't afford one. No thank you, Amara replied. I'll manage. As she stepped out into the warm coastal air, she heard Dominic's final barb. And don't think about trying to sneak into the gala tonight. We'll have your photo at every entrance. The doors closed behind her with a soft, expensive thud. Amara walked unhurriedly down the curved driveway, feeling the eyes of the resort staff on her back. When she reached the street, she turned left and continued along the oceanfront promenade that ran alongside the resort property. She found a quiet cafe with a view of the harbor and ordered an iced tea, the perfect vantage point. Checking her watch, an understated piece that had been her father's, she calculated timing. 1 hour and 40 minutes to go. Her phone buzzed, with a message from Freya. Thaddeus is furious, ETA 100 minutes, package arriving in 20. Amara sipped her tea, watching seagulls circle above the water. She wasn't upset. She'd faced worse prejudice in her life. Before meeting Thaddeus, she'd worked multiple jobs to put herself through school. She'd been dismissed, overlooked, and underestimated plenty of times. Thaddeus had offered to put an end to these situations by making sure everyone knew who she was, but Amara had refused. Those who judge books by their covers, she had told him, deserve the surprise when they find out what's inside. Exactly 19 minutes later, an elegant black car pulled up in front of the cafe. The driver, a woman in a crisp uniform, stepped out and scanned the patio until she spotted Amara. Mrs. Winters? She asked quietly, approaching the table. Yes, Zara. Thank you for coming so quickly. Zara placed a garment bag and a small suitcase beside Amara's chair. Miss Freya said you needed these urgently. Is everything all right? Just a small misunderstanding that will sort itself out soon, Amara replied with a smile. Would you like something to drink? No, thank you, ma'am. I should get back. Mr. Winters was quite determined when he called. Amara nodded knowingly. Thaddeus's temper was legendary in business circles, though he never directed it at her or their staff. I'll see you later then. After Zara departed, Amara took her packages to the cafe's restroom. 15 minutes later, she emerged transformed. Her simple beige dress had been replaced by an elegant cream designer ensemble. Her hair, previously pulled back, now fell in soft waves around her shoulders. A delicate diamond necklace, Thaddeus's gift on their first anniversary, adorned her neck. She paid her bill, leaving a generous tip, and walked back toward the promenade. As she strolled past shops and restaurants, she noticed people's reactions had changed completely. Where before, she had been invisible, now she received appreciative glances and respectful nods. Amara checked her watch again. Just over an hour before Thaddeus's arrival. Time for the next phase of their plan. She dialed a number on her phone. Hello, Orion. It's Amara Winters. Yes, I'm well, thank you. Listen, I need a small favor regarding tonight's gala. Orion Blackwood was the resort's owner and an old friend of Thaddeus. He was currently in Europe, leaving day-to-day operations to managers like Dominic. Amara explained the situation briefly, careful to emphasize that she didn't want Dominic fired, just taught. A valuable lesson. Are you sure? Orion asked, chuckling. I could have him packing his bags within the hour. No, that won't be necessary. Thaddeus and I have something more educational in mind. Well, you two always did have a flair for the dramatic. Consider it done. I'll call Dominic myself to prepare him for Thaddeus's arrival, though I won't mention you, of course. Perfect. Thank you, Orion. Amara ended the call and continued walking, following the curve of the shoreline that would eventually lead back to the resort's private beach. From there, she'd have the perfect view of the harbor where Thaddeus's yacht would make its entrance. Her phone buzzed with a text from Thaddeus. Almost there. Are you okay? She smiled, typing back, Never better. Dominic has no idea what's coming. She could almost see Thaddeus smile as he replied, Good. The Pegasus is ready for a grand entrance. Love you. Amara tucked her phone away, continuing her leisurely stroll. The pieces were falling into place. Now all she had to do was wait for the perfect moment to return to the Crescent Bay Resort. Not as the simple woman who had been escorted, out, but as Amara Winters, about to deliver a masterclass in humility to those who needed it most. Back at the Crescent Bay Resort, Dominic Reeves was having the afternoon he'd hoped for. After successfully removing the imposter claiming to be Amara Winters, he'd personally inspected the ballroom preparations for the evening's gala. Everything needed to be perfect when the real Thaddeus and Amara Winters arrived. "Mr. Reeves." The receptionist's voice broke his concentration as he adjusted a centerpiece. "There's a call for you on line 1. It's Mr. Blackwood." Dominic's spine stiffened. Orion Blackwood, the resort's billionaire owner, rarely called the property directly. "I'll take it in my office," he said, striding confidently across the ballroom. Once, behind his desk, he composed himself before picking up the phone. "Mr. Blackwood, what a pleasant surprise." "Dominic," Orion's voice was uncharacteristically serious. "I've just received some concerning news. Thaddeus Winters' yacht, the Pegasus, will be docking at our marina within the hour. I need you to personally ensure everything is ready for his arrival." Dominic felt a flush of pride. He was being trusted with an important task. "Of course. Sir, we're fully prepared for the Winters' arrival for tonight's gala." "This is different," Orion said. "Thaddeus is arriving early, and he's not happy. Something about a misunderstanding at the resort today." The blood drained from Dominic's face. "A misunderstanding?" He wasn't specific, but he mentioned something about his wife. "I assumed you'd know what he was referring to." Dominic's mind raced. The woman he'd escorted out, could she have been telling the truth? "Sir, there was a woman earlier who claimed to be Mrs. Winters, but she looked nothing like the photos in our system. She was dressed very simply, not at all what you'd, expect." The silence on the other end of the line stretched uncomfortably long before Orion spoke again. "Dominic, have you ever actually met Amara Winters in person?" "Well, no, but one of the reasons the Winters chose our resort for their foundation events is because Amara values privacy and discretion. She's not one for social media or society." "Pages!" Dominic felt the first drops of cold sweat on his brow. "But the photograph in our system is likely outdated or from a rare public appearance," Orion interrupted. "Dominic, listen carefully. Thaddeus Winters' yacht is 300 feet of floating luxury worth more than our entire resort, and it's heading our way with a very displeased billionaire on board." By the time Dominic hung up, his hands were trembling. He rushed to his computer and searched for images of Thaddeus Winters, finding plenty of the business mogul at various events, but pictures of Amara Winters were indeed scarce, just as Orion had said. In the few photos he could find, he noticed a striking woman who carefully avoided the camera, often turning her head or standing partially obscured. The woman from earlier today had similar features, but without the designer clothes and professional styling. He hadn't made the connection. "Oh, God," he whispered, panic rising in his throat. He buzzed the front desk. "Get me information on Thaddeus Winters' yacht immediately." Minutes later, he was staring at a printout of the Pegasus, one of the most recognizable super yachts in the world. Custom built for Winters 4 years ago, it featured multiple decks, a helipad, and accommodations for 24 guests and 28 crew members. According to the vessel tracking report, it was indeed approaching their marina. Dominic quickly called an emergency staff meeting in the lobby. "Listen carefully," he said to the assembled employees. "We may have made a grave error earlier today. The woman who claimed to be Amara Winters might actually have been Amara Winters." Murmurs spread through the group. "Thaddeus Winters' yacht. We'll dock within the hour, and we need to prepare. Saria, contact the marina immediately. Marco, prepare the red carpet welcome. Juniper, champagne, and refreshments at the dock." As the staff scattered to their assignments, Dominic stepped outside to scan the horizon. In the distance, he could just make out the silhouette of an enormous yacht approaching the coastline. Even from this distance, its size was impressive. His phone rang. The marina manager. "Mr. Reeves, you'd better get down here. The Pegasus has requested priority docking privileges. They'll be here in 30 minutes. Dominic straightened his tie and took a deep breath. "Very well, I'm on my way." He would have to face Thaddeus Winters himself and try to explain how he'd thrown the billionaire's wife out of their resort, unless he could find her first and somehow make amends. The Pegasus made its approach with unmistakable grandeur. At SAS, 300 feet, the custom-built yacht dwarfed everything else in the marina, its pristine white hull gleaming in the afternoon sun. Its arrival had drawn a crowd. Resort guests, locals, and staff all gathered to witness the spectacle. Dominic stood at the end of the dock, a welcoming party assembled behind him, champagne chilled in ice buckets. A red carpet had been hastily rolled out, and every available staff member had been summoned. He'd even ordered the resort's signature floral arrangements to be brought down, anything to appease the Winters family. As the massive vessel completed its docking procedures, Dominic couldn't help but calculate the cost of the yacht, easily north of $150 million, more than enough to buy the entire resort several times over. The man he'd have to face momentarily could ruin his career with a single phone call. The yacht's gangway extended smoothly toward the dock. Dominic forced a smile, though his collar felt suddenly tight against his throat. Thaddeus Winters appeared. At the top of the gangway, tall, distinguished, with perfectly styled silver blonde hair and an impeccably tailored navy suit. He exuded the quiet confidence that came with extraordinary power and wealth. His expression was unreadable as he descended toward the welcome party. Dominic stepped forward, hand extended. "Mr. Winters, welcome to the Crescent Bay. I'm Dominic Reeves, the general manager. It's an honor to—" Thaddeus walked past him without acknowledgement, his eyes scanning the crowd as if looking for someone. The staff exchanged nervous glances. "Mr. Winters," Dominic tried again, hurrying to keep pace with the billionaire's long strides. "About earlier today, there seems to have been a misunderstanding." Thaddeus stopped abruptly, turning to face Dominic with cool blue eyes. "A misunderstanding?" he repeated, his voice level but with an undercurrent of steel. "Is that what you call humiliating my wife and having her escorted from the property?" The whispers among the crowd grew louder. Several guests who had witnessed Amara's expulsion earlier now watched wide-eyed, connecting the dots. "Sir, I can explain," Dominic began, panic rising in his voice. "I'm sure you can," Thaddeus replied, "but first—" He turned and gestured towards someone on the yacht. The crowd fell silent as a figure appeared at the top of the gangway. Amara Winters stood there, transformed from the simple woman of earlier into a vision of elegance. Her cream-colored designer dress caught the sunlight, and diamonds sparkled at her throat and wrists. As she descended the gangway, the crowd parted. Those who had witnessed her expulsion hours earlier now stared in disbelief. The woman they had seen dismissed as a nobody was returning as royalty. Thaddeus extended his hand to her, and she took it with a smile. Together, they turned to face Dominic, whose face had drained of all color. "Mrs. Winters," he stammered, I cannot begin to express how deeply sorry I—" Amara raised a hand, silencing him. "Mr. Reeves," she said, her voice carrying clearly across the now silent dock. "I believe we have a gala to prepare for this evening. Shall we continue our discussion inside?" With that simple statement, she established control of the situation. No shouting, no threats, no public humiliation, just the calm assertion of her rightful position. As Thaddeus and Amara walked toward the resort, the crowd of onlookers spontaneously stepped aside, creating a path. Some even bowed their heads slightly in respect or embarrassment for their earlier behavior. Dominic, left with no choice, trailed behind them, his career hanging by a thread. In the privacy of the resort's VIP lounge, Dominic stood before Thaddeus, and Amara Winters, his practiced confidence entirely gone. "Mr. and Mrs. Winters, I am profoundly sorry for the inexcusable treatment Mrs. Winters received today. There is no excuse for my behavior." Thaddeus's expression remained stern, but Amara studied Dominic thoughtfully. "You know, Mr. Reeves," she said, "I grew up in a small town in Ohio. My father was a mechanic, my mother a waitress. I worked 3 jobs to put myself through college." Dominic blinked, uncertain where this was going. "I founded the Winters Foundation." before I met Thaddeus, with just $5,000 of my savings. Now we raise millions annually for educational opportunities for underprivileged children. She paused. Children who, like me, might be judged by their appearance rather than their character or capabilities. The implication was clear. Dominic lowered his eyes. I don't want you fired, Mr. Reeves, Amara continued, surprising him. That would be too easy. Instead, I have a proposal. Thaddeus smiled slightly, already knowing what was coming. Our foundation needs volunteers for our mentorship program, successful professionals who can teach young people about their industries. You'll commit to 1 year working with students from disadvantaged backgrounds. Dominic nodded quickly. Of course, Mrs. Winters, anything. And, she added, tonight's gala will now include a new pledge, a scholarship fund specifically for hospitality management students from underprivileged backgrounds. The Crescent Bay will be funding the first year. Dominic understood this was non-negotiable. I'll speak with the finance department immediately. Amara rose to her feet. Good. Now if you'll excuse us, we have a gala to prepare for. As Dominic left, Thaddeus took his wife's hand. Masterfully handled as always. Amara smiled. Let's hope he learned something today about not judging a book by its cover. About humanity? Thaddeus asked. About humanity, Amara replied, which is ultimately worth more than any yacht. In a world that often judges people by appearances or possessions, sometimes the greatest wealth lies in character and dignity. Amara's story reminds us that true class isn't about what you wear or own, it's about how you treat others.